Hey, welcome. Today, we're diving deep into the very heart of economics. We're talking about the hidden forces that really drive every single choice you make, from what you had for breakfast to the huge policies that shape our entire world.
It all starts with this super simple question, one we've all probably asked since we were kids. Why can't we just have it all? Why do we have to choose between this or that? Well, the answer to this very human question is probably the single most important concept in all of economics. And the answer? In one word? Scarcity. It's just a plain and simple fact that we live in a world with limited stuff, but our wants are pretty much unlimited. This one idea is literally the engine driving all of economics. It's not a temporary glitch, it's just the way things are. So you've got this constant tug-of-war between our endless desires and the finite resources we have to get them. And that's what economists call the fundamental economic problem. Because of this, we're all forced to make choices, not just as individuals, but as a whole society.
And man, the economist Thomas Sowell just nailed it when he said this. He points out that, yes, scarcity is lesson number one in economics, but it's often the first thing that gets tossed out the window in politics. But here's the thing, you can ignore reality, but you can't ignore the consequences of ignoring reality.
Okay, so if scarcity means we have to choose, then every single choice we make comes with a price tag. But I'm not just talking about money here. Economics teaches us to see a much deeper, hidden cost, and that brings us to our next huge concept.
And that concept is opportunity cost. I love this one. It's basically the value of the road you didn't take. Think about it. Every time you say yes to one thing, you're automatically saying no to a bunch of other things. The opportunity cost is the value of the best one of those things you gave up. To really let this sink in, let's talk about a legend, Michael Jordan. Back in '93, at the absolute peak of his basketball career, he suddenly retired to go play minor league baseball. Now sure, he was still getting a paycheck, so what was the real cost of that decision?
See, the real cost, the opportunity cost of his baseball adventure wasn't his salary. It was the championships he probably would have won, the records he could have smashed, the millions and millions in endorsements he left on the table. He gave up being the undisputed GOAT in one sport to be, pretty average in another. Now that is a massive opportunity cost.
And this whole idea, it's not just for people like you and me, or even Michael Jordan. It applies to entire countries. Nations have to make these gigantic decisions about where to put their limited resources. And luckily, economists have a pretty cool tool for showing us what these massive trade-offs look like.
All right, check this out. Picture an economy that can only make two things: pizzas, which we can enjoy right now, and industrial robots, which help us build more stuff for the future. This table shows the trade-off. If you want to make more robots, say go from 12,000 to 14,000, you have to give up 200,000 pizzas. There's no free lunch. Every choice has a cost.
So when you take that data and plot it on a graph, you get this really cool model called the production possibilities curve. It basically draws a boundary for an economy. Any point right on that curve means you're being super efficient. Any point inside the curve means you're being inefficient. Think of a recession. And anything outside the curve, that's just impossible with what you've got right now. It's a map of a nation's choices.
So that begs the question, right? If every society is dealing with this, how on earth do they decide what to do? How do you coordinate billions of choices made by millions of people every day? Well, this leads us to the big idea of economic systems. And broadly speaking, there are two main playbooks.
In one corner, you have the market economy. Here, private individuals own most of the resources, and decisions are decentralized. They bubble up from the bottom, coordinated by prices. In the other corner, you have the command economy. That's where the government owns the resources, and a central group of planners makes all the big calls from the top down. They're just fundamentally different ways to tackle that core problem of scarcity.
Now, the market system, in particular, is built on this really fascinating, kind of mind-bending idea from the father of modern economics himself, Adam Smith. In his huge, game-changing book, The Wealth of Nations, Smith argued that when people are out there just trying to do what's best for themselves, they often end up, as if led by an invisible hand, doing what's best for society as a whole, even when that wasn't their plan at all. So what is this invisible hand? Is it some kind of magic? Nope. It's really all about the price system. Your local baker doesn't make bread because he's a super nice guy, though maybe he is. He does it to make a living. But by looking out for himself, he ends up feeding the whole neighborhood. That's the big idea. Private ambition in a competitive market can accidentally create public good. I mean, that's a super powerful idea, right? It explains so much about how modern economies work. But it also makes you wonder, are there limits? Should this invisible hand be involved in everything? First, let's give the market its due. The upsides are huge. It's incredibly efficient, it gets resources to where people want them most. It provides powerful incentives for people to innovate and work hard. And of course, it's all built on a foundation of personal freedom. But that's not the whole story.
And that leads us to the final and maybe the most important question of all. Just because we can create a market for something, does that mean we should? Are there some things in life that just shouldn't be for sale?
Just think about some of these for a second. Should you be able to pay for a nicer prison cell? Buy your way into a country? What about putting a price tag on an endangered animal to conserve it? Or on the use of a surrogate's womb? Or even just a spot in line to talk to a lawmaker? Look, the market is an incredible tool for creating wealth and dealing with scarcity. But figuring out where to draw the moral line, that's one of the biggest challenges we face. So, what do you think?